In the shadows of the Great War, Hill 80 bore witness to some of humanity's darkest moments. For decades, it remained veiled in obscurity, shrouded by time and the memories of the brave souls who once fought upon these hallowed grounds. Now, a team of intrepid archaeologists has set out to shed light on this forgotten chapter of history. As they delicately sift through the soil, they piece together the puzzle of what happened here, unearthing a cache of artifacts and human stories that paint a vivid picture of life on the front lines. From the trenches that once echoed with the cries of war to the poignant personal belongings left behind by soldiers, every artifact uncovered is a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made by those who once called this battlefield their home. Join us as we journey into the heart of history, where layers of time converge and every relic is a whisper from the past, urging us to remember the struggles and valor of those who fought here. The introduction of new technology, such as aircraft, armored tanks, machine guns, grenades, and poison gas, resulted in unparalleled carnage during World War I. Over 8 million military soldiers and almost 6 million civilians were murdered between 1914 and 1918. However, the data that really astound archaeologist Birger Stichelbot are those that demonstrate how profoundly the landscape was affected in regions of Europe. More than 3,000 miles of trenches were fired through a 37-mile length of one 420-mile front line in Belgium, for example. Those are huge numbers, adds Stichelbot. Stichelbot of Ghent University in Belgium is one of a tiny number of archaeologists looking at the physical remnants of the Great War more than a century later. While the combat was chronicled in hundreds of first-hand written reports, pictures, and video reels, and subject to innumerable post-war assessments, archaeology provides another perspective to our knowledge of one of modern history's most horrific wars. Everyone who actually witnessed the First World War has died, adds Stichelbot. Today, the landscape is the last witness. Some of the worst combat in World War I took place along the Western Front in Flanders, the Dutch-speaking region of Belgium, when Allied and German soldiers launched lethal assaults from their separate trenches. During the 4 years of fighting, the land became a moonscape, but post-war rehabilitation was quick. Many relics of the conflict have been preserved and are often buried less than a foot below the surface of the earth. Stichelbot and other scholars utilize airborne archaeology to learn about how this warscape evolved and what sites remain. During World War I, aerial photography became a new instrument for spying on enemy locations, and hundreds of these historical photos today form the region's earliest aerial records. Stitched together, they provide a bird's-eye view, more accurate than current ground maps, of how trenches and other military sites were built and evolved over time. Archaeologists use contemporary aerial imagery to supplement historical photographs. Crop marks caught in images during droughts may give breathtaking maps of buried century-old trench networks where water accumulates under today's agriculture. Archaeologists have also used LiDAR, a method that employs lasers to see through surface plants, in the past 10 years. LiDAR scans demonstrate how much of Western Europe's topography is still imprinted by zigzag trenches, shelling craters, and other remains that may not be visible on the ground. According to Traces of War, a book Stichelbot compiled to accompany an exhibit last year at the Flanders Fields Museum in Ypres, LiDAR images from a stretch of the Western Front between Kemmel and Wervik in Flanders reveal that 14% of the land, more than expected, is still visibly scored by the war. You suddenly get a different perspective. You're seeing the totality of the war, you're seeing patterns, and you're seeing sites that even if you stood on the site today, you wouldn't see that it's a trench, Stichelbot adds. Aerial photos may direct excavations, and as archaeologists dig, they discover previously unknown details of soldiers' daily lives. There were not many photographs taken in the trenches, recalls Stichelbot. So, what archaeology really does is give you a snapshot of what life in the trenches was like. The archaeology of World War I sites, in particular, has aided historians in understanding how troops improved trench building to deal with severe circumstances. You can read as many First World War trench digging manuals as you want, but if you look into archaeology, you will always see the reality of trench warfare on the ground, Stichelbot says. The region's damp soil helps preserve organic objects like wood and textiles, which is beneficial to archaeologists today. But more than a century ago, troops were constantly at odds with the water and dirt. Many ditches were excavated below the water table by accident. Even when they weren't under fire, soldiers' lives may become terrible as the seasons changed and rain poured. Trench foot, caused by cold, damp, and unclean circumstances, claimed the lives of 75,000 British soldiers. A British soldier who spent time in the Hades Dugout network of tunnels beneath Wiltshire, near Ypres, wrote that after descending more than 30 slippery steps, one would arrive at the bottom of the shelter and stand in a black and slimy river, slowly moving onwards and disappearing in the darkness, revealed by some weary-looking electric lights. "Do you mean the Styx? Anyway, everything smells," the soldier stated in a Traces of War narrative. Archaeologists discovered more rubber trench waters than conventional soldiers' footwear at Wiltshire. Excavations of other trench networks in Belgium have shown that troops used straw, debris, roof tiles, and doors to protect their feet from sinking into the muck. These little facts contribute to a more complete picture of the troops' experiences. Trench art, according to Stichelbaut, is one of the most striking discoveries. Engravings, bullets cut and hammered into crucifixes, and other things that reveal how men spent their tense leisure. A German rucksack with a teddy bear was discovered in the Belgian town of Langemark during the construction of a gas pipeline, according to archaeologist Simon Verdgem. You find a lot of artifacts that tell the personal stories of soldiers that would otherwise never have been brought to light, that bring humanity to the soldiers, says the archaeologist. Verdegem works for the Belgian commercial archaeology business Ruben Willer and specialized in World War I. During a recent archaeological project dubbed Dig Hill 80, he had the opportunity to gaze into a large trench system at Wytchgate, a village along the Messines Ridge west of Ypres. The excavation, which began in 2018 and is currently ongoing, uncovered underground trenches and the ruins of farm homes abandoned during the war. Verdegem was shocked to learn that the majority of the archaeological remains uncovered at Wytchgate dated to a little-known war in 1914, rather than a big conflict in 1917, when Allied soldiers made a surprise assault on Wytchgate to seize a German stronghold. At Wytchgate, the Dig Hill 80 team also discovered the remains of more than 130 soldiers of different nationalities. World War I archaeology differs from past times in that the finds produced in the trenches continue to have an influence on living families. There are entire generations in several countries that are still wondering what happened to their ancestors during the war, Verdegem explains. Now and then, we're able to give them an answer, so that's a special thing. Unfortunately, such solutions are still generally elusive. Verdegem believes he has personally unearthed the bones of around 200 troops. Only 3 of them have been recognized. The dedication and tireless efforts of the archaeologists have given a voice to the long-forgotten soldiers who bravely stood their ground amidst the chaos of war. Through their discoveries, we have been granted a glimpse into the resilience, sacrifices, and camaraderie that defined life on the front lines. Thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey. Don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts about these discoveries. And as always, remember to subscribe to our channel for more captivating adventures and fascinating discoveries.